Welcome to Real Talk, episode 34. I'm Todd. This is AJ.
Hello.
And we are so glad to be with you today.
Yeah, you look happy.
I had a laugh, so I'm just excited to be here.
Me too, man. I love doing this. I take it for granted so much. Then we come and do it. I'm like, I'm glad we got to do this. So
That's good.
It's good to be here.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a combination of Rockstar Lemonade, week old 3D, and
I don't think you should say that
probably
part.
even older Sprite.
Why did you laugh like that?
I don't
Okay,
know,
I'm
man.
sorry. We are the worst.
Ugh,
So, hey,
good
in all
intros.
seriousness, yeah. Can't edit that out. Hey, welcome anyway. In all seriousness, we are really excited to have you guys. So, if you're unfamiliar with Real Talk, this is your first episode. First off, we're sorry for that because that was weird. But if you're regular viewers, you know that this, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you view it, is just the way it goes.
That's true.
So, what is Real Talk? Real Talk is an opportunity. This website is an opportunity for us to interact with each other and with you guys about life, God, the church, what it is to be Christian, all of those kind of things and how they intermix, and just have real talk about it.
Yes.
Up above, you will see a link, www.theremnant.live/real-talk. You click that, it's going to pull up a form fillable box. Go ahead and write in that box your question or your topic for us. It could also be about us personally if you want to know something about us. But primarily, typically it's God, relationship stuff, Bible. There's just all of it.
Oh, yeah.
And just kind of how our faith really is applied in life. So if you hit that, it goes into a database that's completely anonymous. Don't look at me like that. And then we couldn't find you if we wanted to. Is kind of our joke and our what we say, sort of our tagline, which is true. We are up to 850 some questions that we've answered.
We popped up to 850 already?
Oh yeah, I don't believe. Well, we haven't answered 850. We have some we're gonna answer today.
That's crazy.
But that's it. That's what Real Talk is. So
Man.
if you go back on our church page, the Remnant Church, we're in Columbia City, Indiana, you're going to see kind of a mixture of videos. What you're going to see is there's a web series with numbered episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And those, we're up to 34. Those are pre-recorded, and that's what you're looking at now. And we kind of go a little more in depth. You're also going to see live videos that we do every Thursday where we do, Real Talk live and interact with you guys and other people. And we have people from Florida, Louisiana, Texas, California. We've entered Michigan. We've just interacted with Ohio. I think someplace out west. I remember at some point, Utah or something. So
Kentucky too.
Kentucky, yeah. How did I forget that? So overall, just really excited, and blessed to be able to do this with you guys. So
Yes.
that's who we are. If you are regular viewers, thank you for putting up with that spiel.
Hey.
So we typically start this out by just kind of catching up on life and how we're doing. So how you doing, man?
So I've been in this. We actually, I what?
I was thinking about something happened off camera. My apologies. Go on.
That's hilarious. So I've been thinking about this idea, and it actually came to fruition. he can't help himself.
I'm so sorry, man. I'm hearing it.
I love this. This is the best. This reminds me of what episode was it? Was it 22 or 23? It was something infamous. Go back and watch it. So I've been wrestling with this idea of American church, right? So I actually had my girlfriend. She messaged me and she's talking about how there's people in what country was it? It was more your third world countries. I can't look at you right now.
This is a serious thing, man.
I know.
really want to hear this.
Okay.
For real. I'm so sorry, guys. We had a thing happen right before we went on, literally right before, and I keep thinking about it. It's silly. Well, it keeps coming to my mind. And once this happens, one of the things I've learned, those of you that have been in plays and things, which I was only in one, but when you're on film and you start thinking about funny things, it's hard to get rid of it. Yeah,
I get it.
All right, Third World Countries Church. I'm really interested.
Yes. So she talked about how these people were being imprisoned because they were trying to, talk about the gospel and try to teach people Jesus. And some of these people, it was really harsh. They were going to be in there for life or, sentenced to death, whatever it was. And, they're like, well, we're already here. We might as well keep doing it, right? And that was so powerful. And I was like, man, how much do I really believe all this? Because if I was there, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would do what I say I would do, right? Mm. And so it made me think of the idea of American church. And I was like, there's just no repercussions for us, obviously we have the lives we live and how, things can happen, whether that's, social or whatever. But as far as like the literal repercussions of claiming Jesus, it's you. It's on you, really. That's kind of how I look at it for American church. But they're like, they talk. You want to talk about true persecution, like for real. We talk about, Jesus talks about, you'll be hated, you'll be persecuted. In America, that seems to be different. It's a different form. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
yeah, no, I'm thinking, yeah.
But it seems to be in a different form here, and it makes me sad in a way. I'm definitely blessed. I'm blessed to be an American and have that freedom, but it also takes the power away from our faith sometimes, and that makes me sad. Because I don't want it to be like that, but that's how it is. And that's speaking myself. So I guess I felt convicted, so I thought I'd share it. Really cool. Just made me think. I know I kind of talked about it. Writing music and stuff, and the title of American Church. It'd be interesting to go into that and go in depth. And so yeah, that's just kind of what I was thinking about right before. As far as my rest of my week, it's been good. We also talked about something else earlier today. A lot of good talks already today. About it was a term you used. What was it? We were in the car. Resistance.
Resistance.
That's what it was. So I've been feeling a lot of resistance lately, and I'm glad you coined that term for me, because I wouldn't have known what to call it. So I'm very blessed to be in a position I am in, to be able to help the church and do all these cool things and be a part of media. But with that comes responsibility, and so for me, a theme in my life when a big responsibilities came about, I tend to doubt myself or think I'm just going to disappoint people, so I shut down. And I don't tend to actually, I don't tend to appreciate those things that are in front of me. So that's kind of what, people have been sensing, and that's kind of what I've noticed about myself lately is I'm doing the work and I'm in it, but I'm not enjoying it as much as I could be.
Sure.
So, that kind of sucks. Like I don't want that to be the case. So and you mentioned resistance and how that's just a natural thing that a lot of people tend to do. So I don't want to be resistant to that. I want to be joyful. You mentioned that earlier too, being joyful in the process, whether it's good or bad or whether it's easy or hard. I want to be joyful through it all. So that's just kind of what's been on my heart lately. So
yeah, in relation to the martyrs, I think of martyrs. I'll tell you why. So in other countries, that's what they are. People that are being persecuted, dying for their faith.
Yeah.
I remember getting a book. It was actually from a girl that I dated, very solid believer earlier in life, and she bought me a book. So funny, man. It was probably close to where you're at in your faith, and it's Voice of the Martyrs. I'm sure many of you've heard of it. This is an organization you may not have. There's an organization called Voice of the Martyrs that brings light and tells the stories of these martyrs across the world, and they take, they support them in the best way they can. Sometimes it's getting legal help. Sometimes it's just getting them out, and they tell their stories, which is really powerful. Well, there's a book called Voice of the Martyrs, and it talks about a lot of these stories, man. And we're talking all the way back from the apostles, but even in modern times of how people are being persecuted and dying for their faith. And it's interesting that you said that. There is a cost here, but it is different. You're right, 100% different. And I think that is the challenge that the American church faces is how, I'm not sure, it's easy to say you're a Christian. It's easy to say it here.
Yeah.
And in some cases, depending on where you're at, particularly here in the Midwest, it can be socially beneficial for you to have a home church. Say you're a part of a church, because it's almost like a social club sometimes, right?
Yeah, culture is very interesting.
Yeah. So that being said, that also scares me, because you can get away with a form. It reminds me of Scripture. You have a form of religion, a form of godliness, but denying its power, right? So you can say that you have this, but there's no transformation. You've never really met Jesus. You've met this form of Jesus that doesn't call you to sacrifice anything. Because to follow Jesus, whether it's your life, your physical life, and you're being persecuted like martyrs, or the sacrifice of your flesh, your will, the things you want, right? That are, you got to sacrifice to follow him, right? When he says, pick up your cross and follow me daily, that's a real thing. That's the weight. And if you're not feeling any weight, right? Because he also said he'll come to us over here in burden and he'll give us rest. And I don't mean like you should be miserable, but there's a difference. So what I think it can kind of do here in America is, and I think you said it, it was interesting. You said it takes the power from our faith. I think that's a really good way to put it. And it allows people there's like this counterfeit form of Christianity that is available in America that isn't transformational, and if it's not transformational, it may not be real. And so they don't know Jesus. So this is why I have such a heart. People like, I have a heart for anyone that doesn't know Jesus. And in these countries, by the way, these martyrs is incredible.
Oh yeah,
incredible what they're willing to do, and it's so convicting because I'm the same as you. Would I do it? But I think about America, and I have a broken heart for it as well, because in our affluence and in our wealth and all these things, because world comparatively, you and I, we think you think you don't have a lot of money. We'll compare you to someone in a third world country. You are king.
That's right.
So, but that being said, oh man, you can. It's like there's a slow death in America, a slow spiritual death, right? That can happen because you're given this. Hey, here it is. This is what it is to be a Christian, and it's really about certain rules. Don't do the really bad things, and then make everything about appearances. You're okay. Versus, what does it really mean to die to self, to know Jesus? All those kind of things.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, really interesting, and I should let you read that book. They're real short stories, but you'd probably be really encouraged. I have it at home right now, but go check that out, guys. If you don't, you want to be encouraged and pushing your faith and see how real this is. As I'll tell you what, there's some crazy miraculous things too in these people's deaths. How people who even killed them came to know Jesus after they killed them because of the way they handled their death.
That's insane.
Because they said the fact that this man was willing. I remember a couple stories in particular. There was a Roman story. I'm going to butcher it, but there's accounts of it. The Christian was taken out on, I believe, like a frozen lake. They're going to kill him. And one soldier took him out. The rest of the army's over here, and they tell him to take him out. And he says, repent, or whatever. Say this Christ is not real. He refused to do it, and he said something. And then the other soldier got down on his knees and said, I'm going to die with you because essentially, like, I believe this now. And then they killed him too. Killed both of them.
Wow.
But there's a lot of powerful things that happen because people's faith, So anyway, cool stuff. But yeah, we should pray for them. And that's something that I get emails. I just got one yesterday. I don't know how I got signed up for this. Voice of the Martyrs. I think I donated one time or something. But they keep telling you what's going on. Even in big countries, China, Russia, stuff happens that we don't know about when it comes to Christianity. Yeah. That being said, the other part he talked about, resistance, just so everyone knows, I didn't create the phrase, but I'd heard it from some psychologists. And it's that idea that thing that makes us not want to get up in the morning when we know we need to go to work. That thing that makes us not want to go to the gym when we know we need to go to the gym. That thing that makes us not want to eat well when we want to eat well. That kind of resistance, right? That it feels like almost a wall. Mm-hmm. If you want to succeed in life, you got to be able to overcome that because we all have it. So it's interesting. And as Christians, we can call it whatever we want, whether it's the old man in us, the sin, but the concept of that putting up a resistance to what we want is interesting. So anyway, good stuff, man. Sorry to ramble. I just got excited by what he talked about.
No, man, that's good. How are you doing?
I honestly knew we were doing this and didn't think about it. I'm doing fairly well.
Yeah.
As you know, I won't go too much into detail here, but I was in this process 3 weeks ago of doing the good life, right? This idea of talking to God about what is the good life? What is life? I think it's supposed to be, John 10:10, I've come to give you life and give it to the full. Mm-hmm. I was kind of obsessed with that. I used to be when I first became a Christian. I started thinking about, life to the full to me means if this cup is life. Mm-hmm. Actually, this is symbolic. I got about half a thing in here. And a lot of times I think, well, this is what God said. Don't get excited. You can have half. Life can be this. This is all it is. Because a lot of us end up asking, if you're like me at least, like, is this it? And when I think of that concept of life to the full, I picture him pouring it till it's overflowing. And I think I settle for life as a Christian that isn't what he promised because I'm afraid he won't keep his promise. I think that's what a lot of us do.
That makes sense.
So anyway, I was living it pretty good, and then we have an enemy. Yeah. And as soon as I start living out of not having anxiety and all those kinds of things got wild here at the church and even in my personal life. So that was interesting. I had a little moment. This is pretty raw. I always struggle with this. So my family. So I'm talking mother, father, sister, brother. I'm the oldest. They live in a different town. No, we don't have a bad relationship or anything. I'm just not around,
Right.
and I don't feel that a lot. I'm a pretty driven guy, if you know me. But sometimes I feel just a little sadness in that in a way because you feel disconnected because I'm
Makes
not
sense.
from the town that I'm in, so I don't even have. Certainly, our church is a huge
Yeah.
blessing.
I can relate to this.
Yeah, you can a little bit. So yeah, for sure. So that was interesting because I know they were moving and they're all kind of working together, moving. They didn't even tell me about it. Like my mom was moving, and these little weird things, man. It doesn't matter how old you get. I think family's interesting.
Agreed. Yep. I would agree.
And in a good way, and like how that you have that connection, even if it doesn't matter what happens in life, you're always going to be connected to those.
Yep.
So other than that, I don't know. Sometimes I do realize I'm in a routine, which isn't necessarily bad, but like I can tell you most of the time overall what each day looks like, and it's so jam packed. You know that. So we're in Tuesday, which turns into Wednesday. And we have worship and all these other things, and then Thursday we have live, which takes a lot of time. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
Then Friday I have. It's just it's sort of repeating itself.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, decent.
Yeah. Good.
Guess we can dive into this stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Dive
we
into
do
some
not have them written on cards today. What is happening?
But kind of, I'm thinking and processing what you said. You mentioned, what was it? You mentioned the cup, right?
Yeah.
Being half full, and that's so good, man. Because I can relate with you on that as well, just because I struggle to believe it's. And I feel like this is probably gonna be a battle I'm gonna have until my last breath, because I just struggle with the fact that I believe that God says who He is, but it's always me, right? I always think like, man, like the fact that God created me this way, it's hard to believe because of how flawed I am, right? Because of how deep the sin is inside of me. So it's like, that old man is so strong, and it's like, how much do I really believe it though? It talks about finding self-value and finding that your identity in Christ, and it's like, man, it's tough, dude. It's a tough road. So when it comes to living life, half, with the cup half full, there's times where I can feel like I'm living it, a quarter or none. I'm just like, yeah, it's empty. So that's tough, dude. But
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I just why do people? This actually ties in with your third world country stuff. So these people, we use the term third world country. So let's talk about poor countries where people are believers. If they lived based on our standard of what life is to be good, why would they stay alive? Do you see what I'm saying? Like they don't wake up and go, well, I don't have a new car, I don't have this much money to buy a new house. Like they just wake up and I've seen them, like they're joyful. Why? Right? Because they realize that life is more than the circumstances. Okay, so let's go on farther. These third world countries, not only do they have a hard life, now you're being pulled into a room and told if quit going to church and all these things or whatever else, quit, deny this Christ, and they won't. But think about that. Their life, what material value to their life is there really, right? But they want to live. Like it's just so much more real to them. It's so much more real. And what is real? Life. Like life has to be more than these circumstances. Life has to be more than making money and honestly for me it's not even making money, right? Like when I wake up and don't have joy, it's because I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm not happy that day or I'm bored or whatever else we think of.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I just don't even I'm not sitting there moping. I'm not like, oh, I'm sad, but I just notice I don't know, in some ways I get frustrated. It's not that I'm sad. I get frustrated that I'm not joyful.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I really walk this out, like why wouldn't it be? Anyway.
That's good, man. You're right.
In the Old Testament, it says not to touch your wife until a week after her period is over. Sorry for being vulgar. Does this still apply in the New Testament?
I had no idea the Old Testament said this.
They did.
Wow.
So Leviticus particularly talks about it. So in the Old Testament, they were under the sacrificial system. sacrificial system, blood, it was all about making people realize that blood, like the holiness of blood, that it mattered.
Gotcha.
And why is that? Foreshadowing.
Yep.
yeah,
Let's say foreshadowing.
of Christ.
Cool. That's awesome.
So because of that, when a woman, we're talking about this, is on her cycle, she's bleeding. So they wouldn't even let him touch her, not let alone have sex with her.
Right.
You couldn't even touch her.
Wow.
So, which is what it's talking about. However, Jesus fulfilled all of the requirements of the sacrificial system. We're not under that anymore. We're not under the law. That debt has been paid once and for all. The blood was shed once and for all. It's over. It's done. We don't need to do that. So, no, that does not apply to us now because we are under the new covenant and we are not under that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Putting it in as simple terms as we can.
I love learning new things, man. Had no idea you even said that. Leviticus. I don't think I've actually really read much in Leviticus.
Yeah, it's not the most it's not the most exciting of books because it's a lot of a list of all the old laws, but there's some stuff in there that makes you go,
Absolutely.
And clearly there's still principles that, like, understand that Leviticus isn't just filled with the sacrificial laws. It also talks about the way God wants people to live in general, but there's sections that are clearly under that sacrificial system.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Is it wrong to want to see people get justice served after they commit a crime or do something wrong?
I don't think it's wrong. No. I think it depends on your heart behind the whole situation. It depends on what your view of justice is. You said it before, but you've mentioned, a judge. Would a judge be just if he let a murderer go free? And people tend to think of God, in similar ways. We have it all. We have a just God, and He's going to do things to His purposes that's going to benefit everybody. But yeah, it's okay to want justice. Like we talk about holy anger. We talked about holy anger before, and that's one of those things where you can be angry at the sin. You can.
Yeah, there you go.
But you just don't want to sin in the midst of that anger. So. Yeah,
and I think the desire for justice. Now, you have to know in your heart whether it's justice or vengeance, right? Those kind of things.
Yes.
But justice, I mean, that's the heart of God, of the Lord. Like, what I always think about, what's interesting about our desire for justice is it really helps me appreciate what Jesus did, because you want justice because a wrong was committed, and we have committed wrong against the God of the universe. What we deserve is justice, but instead He offers us mercy, right? Because the justice is He paid it, so it's an incredible thing.
Oh.
Yeah, I would agree with you. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Justice. God is a God of goodness and justice.
That's right.
Oh, or love and justice. I'm sorry.
Justice.
Sorry guys, we got a lot. We actually had our live.
Yeah, I was gonna say
our first live, meaning in congregation. I shouldn't say live. Our congregational real talk, which is an ongoing series we do every 6 to 12 weeks. It had been 14, so we actually went ahead and did it this past week.
We got a bunch.
Yeah. How do I get somebody to actually come to church when they tell me each week something came up, they will be here next week, yet still never come? What can I say to them to further encourage them?
I would say just keep encouraging them. Keep asking. It's one of those things where we're here to plant seeds. So just by asking them to come, you've already planted that seed, and at this time, you're doing a little bit of watering, for lack of a better term. But when it comes to the full relationship with Christ and claiming that name, that's between them and God. So you're doing the best you can by just keep asking them and just keep loving them. Don't come down on them. Don't get mad. Don't get upset. People, this is an uncomfortable thing for some people to come to a place like this.
Absolutely.
No matter how welcoming it may seem, but they don't know that yet. So, and they don't understand. They don't always understand church intentions, whether that's from hurts, past hurts, insecurities, whatever. I know for me, even though I was always open to the idea of God, before I was a believer, I still didn't like church. Like I was not comfortable with it because of the way people acted. Even when I was a child, when I went to church, like the 5 or 6 times I went before I came here, it is sad. And so that really had an impact on me. And then before you know it, I was 20 years old, had no idea who Jesus was, and had yet to set foot in a church and actually come. So just be patient and love them. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would agree, especially if you're talking about someone that comes from an unchurched background.
Mm-hmm.
AJ and I both come from that, so we both can
That's
speak
right.
into what that felt like. If so, I'm going to assume that's the case here, and we're not talking about just someone who says they're Christian and doesn't want to go to church. But so if it's someone that's not Christian, doesn't come from a church background, I can tell you from experience, like I'm going to echo what he said. It was weird and it felt uncomfortable, and I was nervous, and I felt like people looked down on me, and some of that I brought into it.
Sure.
It's not all the people.
No.
But because I already knew that I wasn't good enough for God, like I knew that. I think, that was where I was at, but I also felt like I wasn't, I don't know, I wouldn't be welcomed. It's just a hard thing. So what I always encourage you, keep inviting them, but make it relaxed. And, also the other thing is take church to them, be church to them, right?
Yes.
When you go to them, be church to them. Be what you want them to see at church. Because there's a reason you want them there, right? That. So, yeah, just a thought. Moving on.
It's Good Thoughts by Todd Blanton.
Hey, sometimes. Sorry, this is why I don't like... This is why I like having the cards.
Yeah.
Forgive me, guys. What animal are you most terrified of?
Oh, boy. All right, so... I have a fear of the unknown. So... When it comes to like the ocean, it'd be terrifying to be lost in the middle of the ocean. So sharks are terrifying in that instance. But when it comes to an on-land animal, I'd say a bear. Bears are literally unstoppable.
They're terrifying creatures.
Yes, unless you have, you gotta have a really good shot to take it down.
Oh, it's gonna take more than one unless you have like an elephant gun.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, bears, I'd be absolutely terrible. Actually, you know what though? Because bears can still run fast. I was about to say, the tiger, cheetah, but at the same time, bears can run.
Oh, they cannot run. And they can climb trees. Yeah, they're terrifying creatures.
Yeah, bears it is.
This is weird. I hate snakes.
Me too, actually.
Snakes and spiders, because the thing with spiders, I'm not afraid of every spider, but the thing about spiders, I don't know which spiders are poisonous.
Yes.
I don't know which spider. If I see a spider crawling on me, I don't know if it's a deadly brown recluse. I don't know enough about spiders. And snakes the same way. I guess I don't like anything that could get into an area and I wouldn't even be aware of it.
That is terrifying.
you know? So I don't like those.
Yes, when it comes to more common animals, yes, snakes up there and frogs. Why? Because I was traumatized as a child.
Yeah. I also would not like sharks in the water or anything, But anyway,
I saw a shark one time.
I'm not afraid of orcas, but I hate them. Anyway, what were you saying?
I actually saw a shark one time when I was a kid. And I was in Florida
That's horrifying.
And I was on a jet ski. And I saw its fin coming. Dude, it was terrifying.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. It was terrifying. Yes. Sharks are... Ugh. Anyways.
We're smashing through these.
Oh, yeah.
The church has done a lot of remodeling. Our church in general here at the Remnant, we have. And we've got some more coming up. Yes. So just wanted to let you know the context. The church has done a lot of remodeling. What's your favorite project that's done already? What's your favorite future project that's going to be done? I'm reading it exactly as is.
I'd say my favorite that's been done so far is the backdrop in the sanctuary. Even though it's been done for a while, it's still... Is it considered fully done?
No, not... yeah, I would count it as fully done, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, I love that. It's so cool. It added such a cool dynamic to the worship team up there on stage. And then the kitchen too. That remodel and that little bar is so cool. As far as what I'm looking forward to, I'd say the welcome desk in there and the foyer. That's gonna be awesome. Yep.
Yeah, and the reason kitchen's a big deal at our church, in case you are just watching, we do what's called community time.
Yes.
Every week, right before service, and the hour before. And so it's free dinner. Yep. And we just invite everybody to come hang out. So we feed anywhere between, I'm just throwing 50 to 70 some people. We plan for 80 to 100 because we don't know. But I know we fed 72 a few weeks ago.
It's crazy.
So that's a big part of our ministry, what we do here. And it actually kind of feeds into what you said earlier about church. For us, that's also a very non-threatening way, like intro to church for people.
Yes.
So you can get them to come to the meal and hang out. That's why I don't even call it church meal. It sounds weird. We call it community time. Just come hang out. Because when you come and hang out, they're gonna see, oh, these are not aliens; these are still just people. Anyway, project. Yeah, I wouldn't have even thought of the backdrop in the sanctuary, but I would agree that's pretty cool.
It's beautiful.
I'm really excited in the future for our youth room.
Yes.
I think that's going to be incredible and really, in our children's area. Those are two big areas we're focused on, and within the next month should look just completely different. So really excited about that. We also got a playground. We're wanting to get up. So just a lot of cool things. So moving on, we're flying.
Oh yeah.
Paper or plastic?
Let's see.
This is a legitimate question. That was
Paper or plastic? I tell you what, I'm gonna have to go with. Well, you know what? Are they both considered recyclable?
Paper is better option for recyclable. I'm pretty sure. I mean, for the earth.
The reality is that I never use paper ever. I just don't. So I gotta go with plastic because I don't even think. I mean, really, is paper even an option
nowadays? That's true. No one ever asked me that.
No. Like you just go and like here's your groceries but I don't go grocery shopping. What am I talking about? So but either way, I don't.
Yeah, man.
Besides,
I noticed that. It's been a long time since I said paper.
Exactly.
The better answer for the environment is paper, but clearly convenience plastic. Although unless they overfill them or that thing snaps as you walk into your car. Of course, that in paper, I always remember like a few times you walk out with something wet and then it gets wet at the bottom and it just busts out. Oh, anyway,
pros and cons, both ways.
Okay, so this one says, so you're not supposed to have premarital sex and you're not supposed to watch porn. But God made us sexual beings, and our world is messed up when it comes to that stuff. How do we healthily deal with that? So how do we deal with this world that's sexualized and when we also have a desire for it? I'm putting it in.
That's a tough. That's a tough.
That's a tough.
The reason why it's tough is because I can struggle with that reality myself, not being married. You really have to be in the spirit, and that's the truth. If you're not in the spirit, you're gonna struggle. That's just the reality. And even when you are in the spirit, you're probably gonna have moments of weakness. Like it's hard to get away from in this society now. So you have to deal with it by being open about it with other people. You have to express that as real. Like, you can't just pretend like, oh, I never, I don't ever feel that. Like, no, that's not reality. You have to accept that reality, talk about it, and then, just really be in the spirit about it. Because if you are not doing the disciplines that we've talked about before, like, your mind it wanders, and you know where that can land. So
yeah, it's hard enough without being bombarded. Okay,
right.
That's we just had this talk yesterday. It's so weird. Some of these questions fit. So we talked about this. We were on our way to a softball game, and then even after, turned on this wrestling came on, and I just was, I think one of the things. So anyway, all that to say, we have a desire that is ingrained in us.
Yes.
That we have to fight in our flesh because sex is not a bad thing.
No.
Sex is a gift and a beautiful thing, but it's made for the context for which it was made, right? It was made to be between a man and woman in marriage, and then it's an incredible thing. Outside of that, it's very destructive. It's like fire, right? Fire is great to keep us warm, and it can cook our food, but it can also burn you, and it can hurt you, and it can destroy. So it's the same type of thing. As far as how to deal with it when you're bombarded with it, I like what you said. One of the things we try to practice with the guys that we're close with, and I can say this confidently, I think taking the stigma off it's a big deal.
Yes.
So we talk about it. We're pretty open about the days that we struggle. I'm even open with it with the guys. I'll tell them,
Yep.
In general, the days that, because if you keep it in your mind and you're afraid to say it, then guess what? It's still in there, like you said.
Yes.
And now I see stuff. I see at the grocery store. I see that magazine cover. I see wrestling. I see the way they drink. Whatever. My mind is woo.
Yep.
So taking the stigma off it. The other thing is being wise enough to, takes some personal discipline. So outside of the spiritual disciplines, absolutely praying and being in the Word because that strengthens us. Talking to people and being open and honest about it. There's nothing wrong. People you can trust. That's part of it. And then there's a part of it that's personal. I know sometimes when I'm especially in the right place what I can and can't handle, and I have to be honest with myself about what I can handle. There are certain television shows I stopped watching that I loved. And I'm not always as sensitive to everything I see, but there are certain ones that I knew I was like, nope,
can't do it.
Cannot do this because it's just gone too far. anyone that knows us here knows we're not all about legalism, rules, and all that. There's freedom in Christ, but there's also wisdom in knowing that things do affect us.
Yes, absolutely.
Music. I've told you, I was a huge rap fan, still love hip hop, but I can't listen to
the secular stuff.
Yeah, man, because not even it. The images, it took me a long time. I remember driving down the road. I've told this story before. And I'm bumping right after becoming a believer, and all of a sudden I heard for the first time what I was hearing. If that makes sense. And I realized that puts that in my mind.
Yep.
So anyway, I think all that's good. And pray, Bible says that. Okay, so we have a lot, so I'll probably only answer one more and then we'll get out of here. This has been a pretty long one.
Yeah.
If a Christian commits a sin and refuses to make change, and that's what they want to be or do, can they still be Christian? Why or why not? That's a pretty heavy question, but
if they do commit sin but they don't want to?
No, it sounds like it is more than that. It is a Christian commits a sin, refuses to make change, so they do it and they want to do it and they don't want to change it.
Okay.
Because that's what they want to be or do. That's powerful. Can they still be a Christian? Why or why not?
So, here's the thing. You know in your own heart whether you believe this or not. And us on the outside, we can't 100% tell your heart. That's between you and God. Personally, I think you can be, but there's got to be some sort of want to change. If there's no wanting to change it, you're either very immature in your faith or you're not a believer. That's the bottom line to me.
Hey man, this guy coming at you the church train. Listen, there have been times in my life that I commit sin and I live in it.
That's right.
But I'm not. I can tell you unequivocally, I don't want to do it, and I'm not happy in it, and I was miserable. And I think the thing that makes me nervous about what you said is they want to do or be that.
Yes.
People don't want to say this because everyone knows I believe Christians still struggle with sin. Paul talks about it in Romans 7. We battle and we may go, but we come back. I don't believe a true believer is going to desire to stay in that all the time. I mean, right. And again, I like what you said. You're the only one that knows where you're really at in your heart.
That's right.
Because maybe you're just saying you want to be because you enjoy it, right? There's things that I do and have done that are wrong that I'm sitting there in the middle of it sometimes, but even in the midst of it, I hate it.
Yep.
And I literally had these thoughts with myself.
Yes. We don't want to commit and sit.
Yeah. Ooh. Ooh. That was good, bro.
Thank you.
That just come to your mind?
Yeah.
I love that. Commit and sit.
Yeah, we don't want to commit and sit.
That's so good. # don't commit and sit. I love that, man. Good job.
Thanks. So, yeah.
Can you still be a Christian and be trapped in a cycle of sin? Absolutely.
Yes.
If you are sitting in it and saying, I like this, I don't want to leave, I don't believe what God said, then I don't think, and you're not willing to repent, then the very least you need to consider, do you believe it? Actually, this Sunday I was reading, we're in 2 Samuel for our men's group, and I went ahead a little bit, and there's a section after what David did. David slept with a woman, a married woman, and then had the husband killed when he couldn't get it covered, okay? And then a prophet comes to him and tells him this story, and it's about this guy who had an entire flock of sheep. He said this one wealthy man had an entire flock of sheep, and he had a neighbor who was a poor man who had one little lamb that he raised forever. But when it came time to sacrifice, the king didn't want to take one of his flocks, so he took the man's one sheep. What do you think we should do? And David's like, this is a horrible human being. And then the prophet said, well, this is you. That's what you did. And then he says, this is what God says to you. And this applies to this. It's such a beautiful thing. I'm paraphrasing. God says, I made you king. I defended you from your enemies. I gave you a wife. I gave you wealth. And if that hadn't been enough, I would have given you even more if you would have just asked. Then why do you disobey me and not trust me? And I think that's what we have to, you see, that convicted me that day. And I live in that. And so I say to you, God has more for you than what you think is making you happy. And all you have to do is ask, and we have to believe that. And, sometimes we're willing to sacrifice the good thing for the easy thing.
Yep.
Right?
I
so
agree.
all that said, don't commit and sit.
Hey.
Nice. All right. Hey, I think that's about it for today. We went a little long. Hopefully you stuck around with us. You want to give anything on the way out here? Anything to talk about Thursday maybe, or give your...
Yeah. First off, thank you guys for joining us along on this ride. Enjoy the beginning of this episode where we laugh and stuff, but seriously stick around because it's pretty good here. This is great today.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Join us this Thursday for Real Talk Live, 9 p.m. I don't know if we're going to have a guest or not. We'll see.
Yeah.
We almost always do nowadays. So.
Yeah, we do. I think we do. I'm pretty sure we do.
Yeah. So we'll be having a guest, and we're always going to be doing ridiculous shenanigans and having fun with you guys. So come join us, invite your friends. We usually post on the day of, so make sure you share that. Like and share this video if this blessed you in any way, or just even if it just made you laugh. Hashtag social media needs it. It's always full of negativity. Why don't we give them some Jesus? Yeah.
It's good. Hey, I would agree with him. Did you give him the date? So that would be the 10th.
Oh, no, I didn't.
So this Thursday, October 10th.
Yes.
At 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
We'll be going live with Real Talk Live. That's a crazy time. I know that we're going to be eating some hot stuff again. We're doing a legitimate challenge this week. I believe we're actually doing the Real Death Nut Challenge, which means we got to eat it. We can't drink anything.
Yep, and we're going all the way down the line.
I'm scared. But I'm also a little confident because we've become pretty strong in our heat. And then, so we've got that. We've got our giveaway, Remnant Roulette.
That's right.
So come in, get in on that, and win a prize. So just a lot of fun, but we also talk about real stuff too.
Yes.
So come and join us, 9 p.m., October 10th, this Thursday, live. And there'll be announcements on this page, which leads me to, if you have not liked our page, go click on the Remnant Church, hit like, follow, see first. One, it helps support this ministry because the more people we get on this page, the more people it reaches. That's the way Facebook works.
Hey.
Also to encourage you. Secondly, or thirdly, wherever I'm at, if this video, like you said, give it a like or a share. I don't really need to say any more than that if it blessed you in any way. Also, if you would like to donate to this ministry, there's a link up above, www.theremnant.life/give. There'll be a drop down box. You can go to Real Talk and donate directly to this ministry. And honestly, if you want to see us keep doing crazy things like eat things on the live ones, or even, we're going to improve the set and stuff and the video quality to, because that just reaches more people. It's not about us. You can donate and it'll go to that. It's completely tax deductible, so you can make sure to Uncle Sam, whatever benefits you get from that. I was going to say something. I think that's about it. Anything else I can think of?
No.
Hey, we appreciate you guys so much. Interact with us in the comments below. We hope you have a great day, and God bless you.